Hello, readers. Very soon, you will be starting your personal narrative stories and you will become writers. Writers do everything for a reason. They have a goal for every single thing they do. And we can study their goals in their writing and we can ask ourselves, what does it seem like my author's goal is at this part of the story? Authors might be trying to give you context or background information. They might be trying to introduce the characters, right? That often happens more in the beginning of the story. Sometimes an author wants to show their character's motivation, which is what they want. Sometimes they're trying to stir empathy, which means they want you to feel what the character's feeling. Oftentimes they create the setting. Sometimes they want to build a mood. They want you to feel a certain feeling through the description of that setting, usually. Other times they might want to set up the problem. Sometimes they want to raise the stakes and show you how that problem's getting worse, as we see now our little friend who was in his car is now hanging on the side of the cliff, and it appears that there's a shark in the water, right? So the stakes are definitely being raised. Other times, the author wants to build suspense. Sometimes the authors want to make you, the reader, get predicting. Sometimes they want to support the theme, and other times they want to show the resolution, right? How the problem was solved. So in your stories, these are all goals that authors may have at different points of the story. Now, in order to achieve their goals, they use techniques. And we're going to take a look at certain techniques that authors use to achieve their goals. Oftentimes, authors use flashback and flash forward in order to give you background information, right? That's why they probably do that. Other times, they have multiple plot lines, right? Where multiple problems are going on at once. They may use inner thinking to show you what a character is thinking, and other times they may write with dialogue to show you what they're saying to each other. Sometimes they use revealing actions, right? That show, not tell language that shows us what's going on in the story. Sometimes they might show different points of view, multiple points of view, like in a book like Wonder. We've discussed early on in our year about first-person narrator and how this point of view really helps you get inside the head of the main character, and it helps you understand their feelings and their perspective. Sometimes the reader might know more than the character, and that's a technique the authors do on purpose. They use description to describe the setting. They might use metaphors, right, to describe two things. They may show the tone, right? And they may use symbols. We've discussed symbolism very often in Home of the Brave and Fly Away Home. And we've seen how symbols are those repeated objects that usually represent the theme or the life lesson of the story. So it's important to remember that as readers, we can read like a writer, and we can ask ourselves, what goal is it that my author seems to be trying to achieve here? And what technique are they using to achieve their goal? So I'm going to go to this chart. This is just a graphic organizer of all of those different goals on this column and techniques on this column. So this is just a graphic organizer that I made for you to help you organize your thoughts. So when we're thinking about how authors use goals and techniques, we can use some sentence stems to really help us. So when writing about author's craft, we can remember to identify the craft techniques the author used and write about the goals the author may have been trying to achieve, remembering to use literary language. So using those words that were on our graphic organizer, Okay, so I'm going to do this side. I'm going to show you what this could look like, and then you're going to try it in a second. In Home of the Brave, Catherine Applegate uses, so I'm going to try to find a technique here. This is what she uses. Well, let's see. Flashback and flash forward. Well, she uses that, right? She uses those flashbacks when she talks about like the sleep stories to talk about what happened in Keck's life in Africa. Let's see, what else? Well, we definitely know Keck's inner thinking, so that one we could use. He used a lot of dialogue, a lot of revealing actions. Not so much multiple point of view. First person narrator. Yes, he is the first person narrator, so that's something we could use. Readers knowing more than the character, not really. We never know more than Keck. Description, that could be. Symbolism. Oh, there's definitely symbolism, right? The cloth. So I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to pick flashback. Okay. So in Home of the Brave, Catherine Applegate uses flashbacks to show Keck's life back in Africa. These chapters are called sleep stories. Now, what was her goal for doing this? Well, what was she trying to achieve? Let's go to our list. So here are our goals. Was she providing and proving and giving us context or background information about the character? Well, definitely, right? She's giving us all this information about his life back in Africa. So that one definitely fits. And I think this should say provide. Introduce the characters. Well, kind of. It introduced Mama a little bit. Show the character's motivation. Definitely show that. Stir empathy. Oh, it definitely stirred empathy and got us really feeling so badly for Keck throughout the story, right? And having to see what he had to endure. Didn't really create the setting. It definitely built the mood and set up the problem and raise the stakes, build suspense, get readers predicting, support the theme, show the resolution. I think this is the one I want to talk about, provided the context and background information, right? Because through those flashbacks, we got to understand a lot more about his life back in Africa. So I'm going to write that one here. Her goal for doing this was probably to provide the reader with background information about Keck's life back in Africa. End of sentence. Okay. So readers, I also put in the Analyzing Author's Craft Learning Progression here for you to just take a look at. You'll notice if you read this closely that we can even take this one step further and think about what would the book have been like had the author not have done that, right? Had they not made that choice? Had they made a different choice instead of doing our technique, right? And if she didn't use flashbacks. So that could be something that I even use to take my response one step further. If Catherine Applegate didn't use flashbacks, we wouldn't understand Keck's past life, and we wouldn't feel as much empathy for him. Okay? So that's another way that you can extend this response and make it even higher level. So readers, what I would like for you to do now is think about the story, Fly Away Home. Think about what techniques does Eve Bunting use in the story, okay? What is it that she's doing? And think to yourself, what was her goal for doing this? What was her goal for doing this? Take a second. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. Okay. So, readers, you may have thought about the fact that she uses symbolism, right? When she puts the bird um, as a symbol, and she has the bird be a symbol of never losing hope, right? And this really could support the goal of supporting the theme, right? Of never losing hope. So, readers, I hope that when you read your stories, right, you start to think about everything the author's doing and thinking through what is it that my author's doing here? And being the type of reader who really thinks about not just what your book's about, but how it's written and what goals the author had.